Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped. Something.
I wasn't expecting that either.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny. I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things, of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and you...
I actually feel a lot more awake.
Do you have any parts that you would like to get to know better or change your relationship with, or any issues at all that you'd like to explore?
I think the part that I would like to explore is my current financial instability, and that as something leading into some deeper part of me.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just messing with the tech here. Okay, current financial instability. Do you want to talk about the issue as a trailhead, or is there a part that you already have identified that comes up around that?
I've tried a bit to figure out the part itself, but I think it is more like a trailhead.
Okay. Yeah, you can just tell as much of the story as you want, and we can kind of tease out different parts that come up around it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
I think it's funny. I feel like it's makes me feel elated, and I'm already elated off of caffeine, so it sort of goes hand in hand, this fluttering feeling in my chest. I think it's not just about being financially unstable. It's sort of like always going left and right, up and down, trying to make things work.
Okay.
Projects, people.
Okay.
Interests.
Like they're competing interests, or is it your feelings around them are hot and cold?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I I think I have tendencies to pick up things and go far with them and just let them go or die.
Mm-hmm.
Can't keep up. I ruminate, procrastinate,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't I pick one thing and then I'm like, I sort of give it like I just gave up a job that could have been stable, but didn't align with me. And I sort of needed it in a way, even though I, I, I think the company is really shady. I gave it up and I sort of needed or felt like that could have been something that could have helped me. Despite that,
Keeping the job would have helped you?
it could have.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt uncomfortable in it. Too many contracts and things to all this legal stuff that made me uncertain.
Okay. Well, I've heard some parts, I think. The first one was just the elated part. Does that have anything to do with the financial instability and the left and right with the projects? Or is that something else?
I feel like, there's me being elated because I drank a lot of coffee.
Okay.
But there's also just an elated feeling of not knowing or going through things, trying to make it work. I feel like oddly, I feel like this elatedness I don't feel it negatively as much as I feel like I could.
Okay.
More like I feel very spontaneous and sporadic.
All right. So when you have that feeling, then you have another part that thinks maybe that's too much, and you could look at it more negatively as being like too sporadic.
I mean, I think there's a part of me too where it's like I know that there's a part that wants less of the elatedness and more security, focus, sort of like actually sitting down and doing something. But most of the time I feel like I'm still all over the place. Which oddly feels exciting.
Yeah.
And also a little bit positive in a way. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. And then you have, I'm wondering if these are the same parts that are the feeling of not being able to keep up, procrastinating. The part that ruminates and I also heard about the parts that have the different perspectives on the job, on the comfort level with it, and the need for it. So I'm looking at 6 different parts here, but they could be overlapping and could just be 2. So where's your intuition tell you to look first, or which of them do you feel like needs your attention first?
I guess where my responsibility lies.
Can you say more about that?
I feel like just going through hearing all explaining all these parts, I feel like the one that I want to tend to is responsible one, or
Okay.
wanting it, the part that wants to be responsible to provide. And
Yeah. Okay. Sure, we can focus on that one first. So see if you can just invite those other parts, like the elated part, or maybe the ruminating part, if that's separate. See if you can just ask those parts to give you some space. You might picture sending them out to a waiting room, or just anywhere, and see how they respond to that, to your intention to get to know the responsible one.
mm-hmm.
How do they respond?
Oddly, I think they're like, yeah, and I've like sort of pushed them aside. And
Are they okay with it?
I think they're okay. They've done that before.
We can come back and get to know them also. We might just spend 10 minutes with this one part.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because physically, that this responsible part, it feels like it's literally in the center of me.
Yeah, let's. Can you say more about that? Where it is, and how it feels.
It feels like a grounding, helping. Energetically, it feels calmer than the ones in the waiting room.
Okay. So do you feel like you can really focus on where it is in your body? You said it's in the center of you. You feeling like you have a good read on it right now?
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you feel towards this part as you notice it there?
I feel like I'm happy. I'm happy it's there. I feel like it is comfortable. Comfortably there.
Okay. And when it comes to doing this work and getting to know it, how are you feeling about that? Are you feeling curious about it?
I feel curious. I feel like the part itself maybe is so calm that it um, it almost feels inactive.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I'm happy it's there.
All right. Well, let it know you're happy it's there. Let it know that you want to make this time to get to know it and to hear from it. If it has anything to share with you, or if it has things to tell you about maybe the other parts, that this is the ideal time for that. And just see if you can kind of invite it to wake up and speak with you.
It's funny. It almost feels like it sleeps. No, it's there. It feels like it needs some agitation or
An invitation. You might try getting closer to it, or you might try maybe like making eye contact with it, or some other way of just deepening your access. And when you've done that, just ask it what it wants you to know.
I get a feeling that it's telling me to feel good and take time on my projects.
Okay.
It also is telling how dissonant I am.
Curious about that. What does it mean by that?
I think it's saying I take too many things at once.
Mm. Does that make sense to you?
It does. I think it does, yeah, in the
Okay.
sense of like trying to do personal work, trying to find work, trying to do projects with others. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, just let it know that that makes sense, that it feels that way. And you might try asking what it's afraid would happen. What it's afraid happens if you're too dissonant or if you're taking on too many things.
I get the phrase bending over the wrong way.
Mm.
Like, I think it's, yeah, about, yeah, some sort of, I guess, like, uh, compose or posture or just where my efforts go.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, what's bad about that? What's behind that? What's the fear about bending over the wrong way?
Shame.
Mm. So it wants to keep you from experiencing that shame.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you notice it, as you learn that about this part's job, well, can you show it some appreciation for wanting to keep you from experiencing that?
Mm-hmm.
And what's that like, showing it appreciation? How does it react?
I think it's, yeah, appreciative. It's, yeah, I think it accepts, although maybe a little slowly.
And you feel good being in that space with it, just showing it appreciation? How's it feel for you?
I think, yeah, I feel good. I feel like, it's still a process. Like, I'm going to have to come and revisit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess there's times and beginnings. So
You could ask it if you could heal or change this part that feels shame, and you could make it so that it doesn't feel that way anymore. What would this part rather be doing with its energy if it didn't have to protect you from that?
I can see it just enjoying a nice long hike.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's funny just to see that or feel that it wants to hike,
Mm-hmm.
but right now it feels lethargic and laying there. Even though it's calm, it's responsible. I guess it's out of shape, or I shouldn't say it's out of shape, but it's sort of inactive.
Mm. How long has it been doing this job of protecting you from this shame feeling?
It's weird. As soon as you ask that, for some reason, like 18 comes up,
Mm-hmm.
like 18 years or something like that. Or maybe it's 18 years old. I don't know.
Yeah, you could ask it. You might just ask it how old it thinks you are. It's another way to approach that.
Well, I think the answer is 25, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it says 25.
And is that your real age?
No,
Okay.
I'm 30.
All right. So yeah, just update it. Let it know that you're not 25 anymore. And you could ask it and kind of ask yourself what if it would make sense to talk to this other part that it's been maybe conflicted with, if that's the elated part, and if it would help this part if we kind of talk to that other part and try to understand the dynamic there.
I feel like going back to the waiting room where the elated, I'm going to say elated parts are.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my body just got a little more tense when this part is communicating with this room, I guess.
Yeah, and we don't have to go there. I was just wondering if you felt like it would be helpful to, now that you've heard from this part and you've understood what it's wanting to protect you from. And if it is in conflict with these elated parts, then I don't know, I guess you could kind of act as a liaison and let all the parts know that if you're able to kind of hear everybody's story, then you'll be able to make a more informed decision or help them out. But that's if you feel that way.
I think ultimately I would feel that way. I would like to, I feel like it almost feels like there's some sort of party happening in the waiting room. They're all rowdy and maybe even jealous.
What is that? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say maybe even like jealous that somehow we've singled a part out.
Yeah. They'd like some attention too, or they'd like to be singled out?
I guess so.
Yeah. How does the responsible part feel about those elated parts and their rowdiness?
I think that it understands that it can change.
Mm-hmm. That they can change?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like as a party or waiting room, like as a scene, it can change. But also, I think even as parts or individual parts, they can change.
Yeah. This is a wise, responsible part you have.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So would it be okay relinquishing some time for us to talk to those parts?
Yeah.
And you're okay with that? Sounds like a good idea to you?
Yeah, I'm letting it happen. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. See if you can have them trade seats, and whichever of those elated parts needs your attention first. See if you can invite it to have a one-on-one with you.
It's hard. It's almost like it is like walking into like a room, being invited into a party that you don't know anyone, and it's already happening, and they're all drunk or intoxicated, or they're all having their own fun. So,
do you want to get to know one?
I mean, Yeah, sure. Just like thinking about how I act in parties sometimes, which is that I'm a social, but I don't really go up to people or unless I already know them. So
it sounds to me like that is another part of you that's hesitant to approach one of these parts. That's has a concern or doubt about getting to know one of them.
yeah, I can see that.
If that feels right, I would say I would just ask that part to relax back. Let that part know that this is not a public party. This is a parts party, and that you're capable of getting to know any of these parts.
Mm-hmm.
Without being overwhelmed. We just want to get there. We just want to get someone else's side of the story, or we want to hear their perspective.
I feel like there is a part that is criticizing myself
Mm-hmm.
for always trying to put too much uh, effort into things, or like I I feel like it's the one telling me that I I take what is it, that I try too hard, and it's why should I try that hard? Why don't you just give up?
Yeah. And this is not that responsible part of saying that.
No.
Okay. All right.
Like you're putting, it's like, oh, this thing you're trying to do, you're not good at it. You
Mm-hmm.
put you you take too much time. It's not worth your time, basically.
Yeah. You all right with getting to know that part?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, invite it in. And see if you notice where that shows up in your body or around your body. What's that feel like? It's a critical part.
It actually feels like a golf club that is wrapping around and wanting to strike me in my left side.
Okay.
Funny.
And as that sensation shows up, how do you feel towards that?
Surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Very surprised because it feels like an object that is like, it feels like an object that also has a sensation that it's like the object is a part, and where it wants to strike is a sensation in itself. And it's like right on my left side.
Yeah. I wonder if where it wants to strike is like another part, you mean?
Yeah, actually, that's what is like I'm noticing right now is like most of the time when I feel parts, my left side is engaged, or it's always my left side, usually with anxiety or anxiousness. But this case is different. I've never had this sensation where it's like to my the left side of my body, to my ribs. And it's sort of below the heart, which makes it even stranger because it's like, yeah, it's a new feeling.
Okay. And are you open to getting to know that?
Yeah.
Great. So let that part know you feel it, you hear it loud and clear, that you want to get to know it. And then ask it what it wants you to know, or what it wants you to know about it.
I think it's telling me also that I should be aiming for something, literally. I should be focused on something. I should have a target.
Mm-hmm.
And in a sense, that sensation is almost like it's showing me that it has that power, or it is almost showing off, or making it feel like like it has that skill, and I don't.
Like it's able to have this focused target, and you're not. Mm-hmm.
It's also funny because it's something like golf. I have no skill in golf, but it seems like this one knows how to strike, and it wants to strike me.
Yeah. Well, just let it know that you recognize its power, that you're getting that message, and that it makes sense to you, that it wants you to have this focused attention. And you might just keep asking it more about what its concerns are. What's behind that fear? If it doesn't get your attention that way, because it's getting your attention in a really, really powerful way, it sounds like. So what's it concerned about if you don't respond to it or don't hear it? Yeah.
I'm getting perfection. Like it's concerned with perfection. Spending too much time, I guess, and knowing that, and also doubt. It's the doubtful part.
Now, is it concerned about a pursuit of perfection, or is it concerned about not being perfect enough? Like, is it seeing perfection as the goal, or is it seeing perfection as the enemy of the good? It's getting in the way.
I think it has a duality of both.
Okay, yeah, just ask it to explain more about what perfection means to it.
I think of what it thinks of perfection. So weird. I don't get the imagery that's in my head right now.
Yeah, just share it if it feels okay to share, and we can piece it together. But
well, I almost feel like it's like perfection is layers, or like I get an imagery of the vegetable, a leek, and it's like several blades, I guess, that tightly wound into this one vegetable, and it has like a core, but it's perfectly seems so together until you cut it up, and then you're sort of like, oh wow, there's layers of perfection. Or this is like something. I think it's trying to say like perfection is really, somewhere in the core, or it comes from the core outward.
Does that resonate with you? I mean, I know it sounds like it's hard to put into words, but do you get it? or at least what it's saying?
Yeah, I think I sort of get what it's saying, but I don't think I have that myself.
Yeah. Well, and you might ask it if that's, is that why it's telling you to give up? Is it seeing you as rotten in the core, more or less, and incapable of perfection? Is that the message it was sending you? Or
Yeah,
or
I
what?
would say in a way it is.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's still a bit jovial. Like I feel like it's almost like I feel like the temperament is not so rotten. It's like
Mm.
an experienced player of golf versus someone who's played mini golf and being like, well, what I can do.
Uh-huh. Okay. So it sees you as the amateur mini golfer that that can't or doesn't have the elements of perfection that it would like to see.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just let it know you're seeing that. You're seeing what it's seeing. And try to ascertain what is it afraid of? What is bad about that?
It's funny. I think the more I ask, the more it feels like it's surrenders that there's nothing really bad about it.
Yeah. And is that a nice place for you to be with it? You like, I mean, is that a positive kind of surrender?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
positive.
Yeah, just try to keep showing it appreciation. It has an ideal about perfection.
Mm-hmm.
It wants what it wants for you, which is a great life, I'm guessing. And what would it rather be doing if it didn't have to smack you around to give you a message about perfection? What would it rather be doing with its energy?
Hole in ones.
Uh-huh. What would that look
I
like
think
for it? How does that manifest?
I get like a quality of a very severe mentor, someone that wants something of its student, but won't, that appreciative moment doesn't really shine that much.
Yeah. And how old does it think you are?
Mm. 24.
Mm-hmm. So this part and the calm, responsible part are both in that time, thinking of you as that age, and that's probably, I'm guessing they had to kind of activate at that time. They had some problems they felt like they had to solve, and they try to take control or to get bigger in that way. Does any of that feel right, or you might check that with it?
I can see, like, I think when I was 24, that was when um, it was like a time of questioning if I should leave my hometown and start a new life, or what am I going to do with my degree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm guessing kind of like a feeling of what are you capable of doing, right? Like, are you forever the amateur putt mini golf person, or
um,
are you going to be getting the hole in one? I mean, maybe I'm projecting a little bit of how I was feeling at that time when I was 24. Kind of similar.
yeah, it's funny now. I feel like the landscape is more of a real golf course, where you have to strike harder and account for wind. And
Yeah. And if you have a terrible shot, it doesn't just bounce off the wall and end up in the right place anyway.
yeah. Also, it's funny. It's like people can do this leisurely.
Yeah.
Like, um,
Yeah, it's an
anyway,
interesting
so
sport, isn't it? It really is
I
about
really,
perfection, and it's kind of an older man's game for sure.
yeah. I mean, but that's also interesting. I feel like with sports, or like I appreciate, I sort of can appreciate this kind of sport because it's like just the golfer. I mean, you do play against another person, but there is something about like this sport, or like, now I'm talking about sports, but like Olympic weightlifting. I sort of liked both of those sports, actually, golf and Olympic weightlifting, I'm like sort of impressed because it really is about like your technique and like
Yeah.
sort of doing it for yourself in a way, or
Yeah. Yeah.
but can also be against someone.
Yeah. Ask, if it feels right, ask this part. What does it need from you going forward? What does it need from you in the future?
Yeah, I think it still wants me to have a narrow sight or my eye on one hole or a hole or focus. And I feel like, because I know this part was also saying, was criticizing how hard I try or doing too much. But I feel like that narrow sight sort of is the lesson more than me trying hard.
Yeah. 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 It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing it's not very appreciative of the elated, rowdy parts.
I mean, it seemed like they were all having a good time in their little waiting room. I think it's like a networking party, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
They all come into their room and talk about each other and talk about all their skills and talents and
Yeah.
achievements and over like a cocktail.
Yeah. Well, the way I understand it, or from what I've seen a lot, is just that parts, they have their dynamics between them, and a lot of them know each other really well, and a lot of them maybe don't know each other at all. And I think the goal is for you to get to know each one, and so that you can be the hub and you can be the captain, and you can understand them in a way that better than they could understand each other. And then you can have that richness of understanding and that just being really informed when you're making decisions in the world.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, that's I agree. I mean, I think, as I said, like for me in real life too, like coming into a room or a party, I sort of I don't like being in groups. I like avoid it almost. Like I'm like
Yeah.
Like that waiting room. No, don't want to be in there.
Yeah.
But
well, it can be overwhelming when you have all those parts. I mean, I think that's kind of the natural state of people, is we're naturally, normally kind of overwhelmed by our rowdy parts, our parts that are too dominant. They're taking up too much space, and they're kind of fighting for control. And then, and we're in the back seat, just like, okay, I hope we survive with parts running the show. And so I think this is a great way to just kind of, because it is so hard to communicate with any of them when they're all there. So that's why you just take it one at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, I will.
Do you have any other like questions for this part or the other part that you talked to? Anything else you want to do with them or share with them or learn from them while you have their attention?
I think it's good for now. I think I'll come back to them.
Yeah. Yeah, you've done some real work here. And I mean, this is the first time we've done this together, and like I can see this map of these different parts really clearly. It's really, really great to have.
Thank you. No, that I'm glad her session went like this.
And yeah, I guess I would just bookmark, obviously these parts that you did get to talk to, but then the ones that you didn't get to talk to, the elated parts, and then, over time with whoever you're working with, just hopefully aim to get to know that shame that's behind the fear of this responsible manager part.
I will. Sorry, I'm like, ooh, I'm in still in a daze.
Oh yeah, I know. It's great. I have to like stop myself from getting too like explainy and yeah, just talking about the process.
Oh, I appreciate it. I mean, I don't know. I think, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, feel good. So feel complete for now.
I guess, is this the end? I don't know. I'm actually like laying on my bed right now. I can't even see what time elapsed.
I also am not watching the time. I would probably lean towards concluding, because I think you got to know 2 protective parts, which is a lot. You got a lot of information from a lot of parts.
Yeah, no, that was great. I mean, I don't know if this part's going to be recorded. I guess everything's recorded.
Everything's recorded, but it doesn't have to be shared. So, and that includes parts. Like if you want to say something in any part of the conversation and just have some piece of it taken out, that's fine.
Right. I'm more or less an open book, so everything can go in. But I mean, I was just going to say, like, I've started listening to No Bad Parts, like the audiobook. And that this morning, the concept of the waiting room was like an exercise that was in the book.
Oh, yeah.
So when you used it in this session, I was like, oh, I know. It was like, oh, that meditation in the audiobook actually like resonated.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great that you're like doing the work, and it is it's about self-leadership. And so I don't know. It makes it really, really nice to be able to work with anybody who's doing the work, because that's where the progress happens. So
Yeah, well, I'm very open. Hopefully, yeah, I'll probably book a session with you again.
I hope so.
Um, yeah, I love people that do the work, and I love doing the work too. So it makes sense.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing it with me, man. Thanks to your parts, and yeah. Unless you have any other questions.
No, that's it, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, man. Feel free to book another session, and we'll see what else we can learn about these parts.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, bye.
See you later.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.